Seem, as was the case with B117, we seem to be following the pattern with the Delta variant, with a doubling time of about 2 weeks. If you look from the May 8th with 1.2 to 2.7 to 9.9, and as of a couple of days ago, 20.6% of the isolates are Delta. Similar to the situation in the UK, the Delta variant is currently the greatest threat in the U.S. to our attempt to eliminate COVID-19.
Welcome to Hold the Line. I'm Buck Sexton. Fauci's back. You thought maybe you were going to be free of him, right? You thought that we would get past that point in our lives where we'd have to hear from that little lab coat totalitarian smurf. No, he's still out there, still telling us that now, if only we listen to the public health measures, we'll all be safe. It'll all be fine. Meanwhile, there's some questions out there that we're going to try to answer today about, well, what really is different about this situation than what we've seen before? And why is there this moment of panic that we're being induced into from the media? What exactly is going on? Well, Joe Biden, as you know, is playing a large part in this. He is the president of the United States. He has an enormous platform. He has the ability to influence people's thinking perhaps more than anyone else on this, with the exception of Fauci. And here's what he put out as a tweet today. Here's the deal, Biden wrote, or his staff, his handlers, whomever. The Delta variant is more contagious, it's deadlier, and it's spreading quickly around the world, leaving young, unvaccinated people more vulnerable than ever. Please get vaccinated if you haven't already. Let's head off this strain before it's too late. Now, we've been getting vaccinations in this country for many months now. It's really 6 months of vaccination. So at this stage, anybody who has not been vaccinated has essentially chosen not to get vaccinated. It costs nothing in this country. Plenty of places have it. We've had many, many months here. So those who are deciding not to do it, well, that's their choice. That's their call. But let's just look at the facts here as they pertain to this Delta variant, as we're all supposed to be so frightened of it, so terrified. Here you go. The Delta variant, according to Twitter just yesterday, here you go. The Delta variant is more transmissible. This is from Twitter's sort of news service than other variants, but evidence is lacking on whether it will make people sicker than the others, according to doctors and medical experts. In fact, what we are likely to see here, because we've had this with other very similar fears of a strain that was going to be so much more dangerous, is that it's probably about the same as what COVID has been. It may be a little bit more easily transmitted. That certainly seems to be the case. But is it much more lethal? There's no reason really to believe that. They just tell you that that's the case because they want to make sure that everybody gets vaccinated in this one last big push before the push over booster shots and further variants down the line change the whole conversation about all of this. But some are not waiting to see even what the data tells them. Some are going back to the old lockdowner mentality. For example, in Los Angeles County, they are urging everyone to mask up because of the Delta variant, even the vaccinated. Now, let's be very clear about this. Why would vaccinated people need to mask up? What are the chances of a vaccinated person getting this and or giving it? Very, very slim. How well do masks even really work? You know, we're at this stage where people just want to move past it, and I understand that, but given what we've seen in this country, given what the data tells us from places that had mask mandates versus those that had either lesser or no mask mandate in place, depending on the period of the pandemic, what data do we really have to suggest that masks actually stop the spread of COVID-19 or even play a major role in stopping the spread? Vaccines certainly do. Vaccines work. There's no question about that. Do masks? Are we even allowed to ask the question now? Probably not. They would much rather you just obey. You do exactly what you've been told to do all along. And even Dr. Fauci's out there to let everyone know, if you're vaccinated, sure, you can still wear a mask. Why not?
The CDC recommendations have not changed, Joe. If you are fully vaccinated, You can go without a mask indoor and outdoor. There are going to be people who at their own discretion are going to say, you know, I'm an elderly person. I have an underlying condition. I'm risk averse, even though the general recommendation is you don't have to wear a mask. I'm deciding I want to wear a mask. Joe, there's nothing wrong with that. That's individual decision.
But you see, it was an individual decision when we were all told we had to do it. But now that it's absurd, they want to make sure there's plenty of room for people to make silly decisions. Remember, it's one thing if we all agreed that masking was some great way to prevent the spread of this, but there are a lot of us who looked at what happened and look at what they told us would be the case over the course of this pandemic when it came to masks and say, how could any person really believe that these things were effective in any meaningful way? But the scientific establishment still clings to this. They still hold to this belief as though it's a major preventative measure, when at best you could say it was minor in the grand scheme of things, and perhaps it was actually effectively nothing. But this is a deeply politicized discussion, as you know. It has been all along. Americans who see little risk in a 4th of July celebration, when you take a look at this data, it shows you exactly what's going on here. Republicans, 76% of us are fine with it. Even a solid majority of independents, 58%, think that it's fine to celebrate 4th of July, Independence Day weekend celebrations. Democrats, less than half still. Less than half of Democrats. What is it about Democrats that, as a group, they uniformly seem to have so much less interest in dealing with the risks as they are? Why are they all so much more scared of COVID? In contravention at this point, or contradicting the actual guidance from the CDC, which is that if you are vaccinated, you are effectively able to live your life all over again. I'm assuming those Democrats who are still very worried are all vaccinated. So why are they doing this? There is a madness in this country. It has gripped many millions of Americans for over a year now, and they have not been able to wrest themselves away from it. They have not been able to get to a point where they're no longer in some state of hysteria over the threat of COVID-19, even after they're vaccinated, even after the numbers have dropped tremendously. This fight is not over, friends. We will continue to wage it.